Dibrig tú go díon ó chánig tú go dtí an chathair seo, fuair neart taithí agus d'urbar de chuid scileanna. I ngacháte éigean tú, fecinn tú rud éigean a chabhraigh tú a thógáil, ach inis tá tú ag féchant ar an todhchaí, agus beidir go bhfuil tú ag smaoinemh ar an áit as a dagan tú. In éireann, tastaíonn pleanálathe, siúnéirí, ploméirí, díanadóirí, inaltóirí, altíirí, banistóirí láithreáin agus níos móhain. Tastaíonn túhain, le do chuid scileanna agus taithí go léir, chun cabhrúlinn na mílte tithe a thógáil. Tá an dahan tóga agat, a níos tar arás agus tógan teach a thóg tú. Tuile eolais ag gov.ie/Building Ireland. Teachtareacht ó Rialtas na hÉireann.
Most security systems react after a break-in begins. That's too late. SimpliSafe is different. It's proactive. ActiveGuard Outdoor Protection uses AI-powered cameras to spot suspicious activity before criminals get inside. Live monitoring agents can see, speak to, and scare off intruders in real time, quickly calling police if needed. To get 60% off your new system, go to simplisafe.com/podcast. That's simplisafe.com/podcast for 60% off. There's no safe like SimpliSafe.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Scary. If you're new here, my name is Will, and each week I narrate your real-life paranormal experiences as well as cover some famous paranormal cases along the way. And if you have your own paranormal experience that you'd like me to narrate in the show, you can send it to scaryaparanormalpodcast@gmail.com and it might just get made into a future episode. Before we get into this week's episode, as always, we need to say a special thank you to our new Patreon subscribers, who are Clarks22, Steffi, KP, Raj, Alice McMinnon, Tamisha Tennant, Patricia Hessen, Dom, Mother of Lenny, Mariana Perna, M. Day Marshall, Brooke Marie, Paige Grogan, Fiona, Kelly Wellham, and Mel. Thank you so much for signing up to the show's Patreon, and if this is something you're interested in, you can find the link in this episode show notes, or you can simply go to patreon.com/scaryaparanormalpodcast, where you can gain access to ad-free main episodes as well as exclusive scary episodes, and there'll be a new episode out this Sunday. But now, let's get into our next paranormal encounter. A couple of years ago, my uncle rang me one afternoon to say that he was going into hospital for a procedure. Thankfully, it wasn't anything too serious, but they were going to keep him for a couple of nights to make sure that everything was okay. He asked if I mind staying at his place to look after his house and the dog until he got back, and I said of course. He'd always been very good to me. My dad hadn't been the greatest, let's say. My uncle had stepped up a lot when I was a teenager. We definitely drifted apart a little bit in later years. He had become a lot more private, maybe a bit withdrawn. He lives in proper UK countryside. His house, it was the kind that had these tiny windows and walls that were pretty thick, that your phone signal when you went inside would pretty much go down to one bar. Behind it there's a field, and then there's a stretch of trees. It's not completely isolated, but it's not far off it. His dog's name was Alfie, a golden retriever. And Alfie was a pretty calm, steady dog, all heart. The day I turned up at the cottage, he met me at the gate with this rope tie in his mouth. You can't help but smile around a dog like that. I ended up dropping my uncle to the hospital, and I agreed that I'd come and check on him each day while he was in there. When I got back to the cottage, I took Alfie out for a walk, came back in and started to make some food. My uncle had left a few notes around the place, directing me to different things. The place itself was pretty old. I wouldn't say there's anything odd about it. Maybe the only odd thing is the silence, and it was quite different from where I was living to this house in the countryside. There was no hum of cars or people's voices. It was just very quiet. That first evening was fine. I think I just watched some TV. It was very uneventful. I spoke to some of my friends on the phone. I could only talk to them when I stood outside the front door. The signal was terrible. I remember Alfie following me out 1 or 2 times, and he'd lift his head and stare out the back door. Dogs do that though. They hear something far away and you never know what it was. When you looked out across the field that was to the back of the house, it was just black. Not even a glimmer of a road or a house light in the distance. And I remember just standing there listening and hearing nothing, just the sound of Alfie panting beside me. It kind of freaked me out a bit, I suppose, the silence. When I got back in, I locked up, brought him up to the bedroom because my uncle had said that that's where he usually slept, so he took his spot on this rug straight away. I climbed into bed and turned off the lamp and just lay there scrolling on my phone for a while. And eventually I fell asleep. I woke up a little while later and the room wasn't dark anymore. For a second I actually thought it was morning. It was that kind of light before the sun comes up. And then I noticed that the light was moving and sliding across the wall. I think my first thought was, there's a car outside and it's turning in the yard. And then when I didn't hear any noise and I saw the movements of this light, it was clear to me that this was from a flashlight. Somebody was outside and was shining this in the window. It all happened in a matter of seconds, I suppose. The light swept across the ceiling once more and then disappeared. Everything just went back to proper darkness, and I just waited, listening for footsteps or a car engine or even the sound of gravel, and there was no sound. The house was completely still, and the most unsettling thing was that Alfie simply lifted his head, didn't bark, looked towards the window, turned back and went back to go sleep. I got up pretty much straight away and went straight to the window, pulled back the curtain, and outside I couldn't see any movement whatsoever. There was no light source anywhere to be seen. I looked at my phone and it was 2:45. So I got up, told Alfie to come with me. We went to the living room, the kitchen, looked all around the house. Nobody seemed to be after disturbing anything. So I just turned on the light at the back door and eventually went back to sleep. When I woke up, it was morning, and the first thing I did was go outside because I had a thought that this light was probably a motion sensor light that flicked on during the night because some animal disturbed it, and that's what had happened. So I go outside and have a look around. There's no motion sensor light. I spent a good portion of that day in the hospital with my uncle, who was doing great. I didn't say anything to him because I didn't want to worry him. It was unnecessary stress and I didn't want to freak him out. So I visited him twice that day, and I got back to the cottage in the early evening and started making dinner pretty much straight away. There I am, cutting up some vegetables in the kitchen, and this light catches my eye out the window. I look up and there's this light moving across the field. The same kind of colour as the light that was shining in my window the night before. So I went to the back door and I looked out, and you could see slow and steady, like somebody was walking with a torch. You could see the swing of their arm. I didn't know who it was. I just watched them for a few minutes and they cut across the field, and once they reached the trees, that was it. They were gone. I think my initial thoughts were that this was maybe somebody scoping the place out, checking to see if it was empty. Did they know that my uncle was going into hospital and, you know, they were planning to rob the place? And that would explain the light outside the window the night before. But there again, I didn't really have any proof. Maybe it was just a farmer or somebody. So I just ended up locking the doors and I turned on every light downstairs. Turned on the light outside the back door. So it was pretty obvious that there was somebody in the house, and it would scare them away or deter them from trying to rob the house if they were going to rob the house. So I end up making dinner and locking every single door in the house, checking the windows that they're all shut and no one can open them. I was definitely on edge, and I just put on a movie to take my mind off the whole thing and watched that, and eventually it came time for me to go to bed. I fall asleep and eventually I'm woken up in the middle of the night. I sleep on my side, and when I woke up, the room was lit up again. Same light as before. So I turn immediately towards the window, and I quickly realise that the light isn't coming from outside. It's coming from inside the room, and it's coming from the doorway. There is a light coming from the direction of the doorway. This steady beam that's shifting across the wall and then stops right on me. And there I can see that there's a man standing in the doorway holding a flashlight. I look down at Alfie and he's just sitting there watching this man, no reaction, as if he lives here and everything is fine. And then I just snap into reality and I shout at this man saying, "Who are you? Get out." And he just switched off the light, turned and just walked out of the room. It was definitely enough to get me moving. I just remember grabbing my phone for light and followed after this guy, and Alfie stayed pretty close. He was glued to my side. I could definitely hear his footsteps in front of me, and I remember thinking, how is this guy so calm? How is he not running? And by the time I reached the top of the stairs and looked down, I could see the outline of a man stepping off that last step into the living room, and then he was out of my view. So I went straight down after him, and when I got downstairs, the whole place was empty. I checked every room, every corner, every window, every door. The spare key was still in the bowl. The whole place was empty. I turned on the lights outside, looked out the windows, went back upstairs and looked out the windows to see if I could see any movement at all outside, and I couldn't see anything. The yard was still. There was no sound of a car or no running on gravel. It was like that this guy had vanished pretty much mid-step. When I went to look upstairs again, here was Alfie at the top of the stairs looking down at me, head tilted, just looking at me like, what the hell am I doing It's the night time. You should be asleep. I must have checked every window and door in that house at least 5 times. Whoever it was that I saw, he was not afraid. I just remember thinking, what do I do? What do you do in this situation? I tried calling one of my friends and they didn't answer. It was the middle of the night. And I just stayed at the kitchen table until it got bright. I didn't move. I was afraid to leave Alfie outside the whole night. I didn't know if he was going to get attacked or run off, or somebody was waiting outside for the both of us. I didn't know. It now being morning, it felt like it was less threatening and he really needed to go outside. And I opened the door and it's one of those typical winter mornings. At around 12, the hospital rang to say that my uncle was ready to be collected, and I set off and collected him. When I saw him, he was pretty cheerful. He was already making plans of what he was going to have for dinner that night. And on the drive back, we talked about Alfie and the weather and everything, and I was trying to get a chance to bring up what had happened. Eventually I said to him, hey, this really weird thing happened while you were in hospital. Someone was outside the night with a flashlight. And he stopped me mid-sentence and looked at me and he just said, no way, you saw too. My uncle has a sense of humour. He's always winding me up. So I didn't really think much of that. And then he continued on to say that the same thing happened to him a few years back. And he thought that it was a poacher in the field. And then he goes on to say that a couple of years ago he woke up and there was a man standing in the bedroom doorway with a torch shining it at him. And when he shouted at him, he turned it off and walked away. I couldn't believe what he was saying. He went on to say that he mentioned it to his neighbour, and his neighbour's father reckoned that it was a man who used to live there, who was a farmer, and he used to walk the fields most nights checking his animals with this old flashlight, and he died in the house. Thank you to Eddie for sending in his paranormal encounter. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode, and don't forget to hit that follow button so you don't miss any future episodes of Scary. You can find the links to everything you need in this episode's show notes. Thank you for listening, and join me next time for another episode of Scary.
Most security systems react after a break-in begins. That's too late. Simply Safe is different. It's proactive. ActiveGuard Outdoor Protection uses AI-powered cameras to spot suspicious activity before criminals get inside. Live monitoring agents can see, speak to, and scare off intruders in real time, quickly calling police if needed. To get 60% off your new system, go to simplysafe.com/podcast. That's simplysafe.com/podcast for 60% off. There's no safe like Simply Safe.
Dibrig tú go díon nó chánig tú go díon chathair seo. For his neart tahi agus derber de chud skillina. I ngacháte éigen tú, fecinn tú rud éigen a chawrig tú a hógáil. Ach anéis tá tú ag fechint ar an tauchaí, agus beidir go bhfuil tú ag smíanamh ar an áit as a dagan tú. In éireann, tastaíonn pleanálathe, siúnéirí, ploméirí, díanadóirí, inaltóirí, altíirí, banistóirí láithreáin agus níos móhain. Tastaíonn túhain, le do chud skillina agus tahi go léir, chun cawrúlinn na mílte tithe a hógáil. Tá an dahan tóga agat, a níos tar arás agus tógan teach a hóg tú. Tuile eolais ag gov.ie/Building Ireland. Teachtareacht ó rialtas na hÉireann.
Mint is still $15 a month for premium wireless. And if you haven't made the switch yet, here are 15 reasons why you should. 1, it's $15 a month. 2, seriously, it's $15 a month. 3, no big contrast. 4, I use it. 5, my mom uses it. Are you playing me off? That's what's happening, right? Okay, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, $15 per month equivalent required. New customer offer first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
A lot of supplement brands chase trends, but if you're serious about your health, we know research-backed science is what actually moves the needle. Momentus works with the best brains in human science to create every formula, and every batch is made of pure ingredients, tested for safety, and does not contain fillers. So you get the best long-term results possible. Creatine isn't just for muscle gains, it's essential daily fuel for your brain, body, and long-term performance. Momentus CreaPure Creatine is backed by leading performance experts like Dr. Andrew Huberman and Dr. Stacy Sims. Sourced exclusively in Germany, CreaPure sets the gold standard for creatine, delivering the purest form, creatine monohydrate, that's rigorously washed and never cut with fillers. With over 2,000 5-star reviews, over 112,000 customers have seen the results firsthand. With Momentus, the fundamentals are done right. Right now, Momentus is offering our listeners up to 35% off your first subscription order with promo code ACAST. Go to livemomentus.com and use promo code ACAST for up to 35% off your first subscription order. That's livemomentus.com, promo code ACAST.
Dibrig tú go díon ó chánig tú go dtí an chathair seo, fuair his neart taithí agus d'urbair de chud scileanna. I ngacháte éigean tú, fecinn tú rud éige na chabhraigh tú a thógáil, ach inis tá tú ag féchant ar an todhchaí, agus beidir go bhfuil tú ag smaoinemh ar an áit as a dagan tú. In éireann, tastaíonn pleanálathe, siúnéirí, ploméirí, díanadóirí, inaltóirí, altíirí, banistóirí láithreáin agus níos móhain. Tastaíonn túhain, le do chud scileanna agus taithí go léir, chun cabhrúlinn na mílte tithe a thógáil. Tá an domhan tóga agat, a níos tar arás agus tógan teach a thóg tú. Tuile eolais ag gov.ie/Building Ireland. Teachtareacht ó rialtas na hÉireann.
Hi, this is Knox from the Popcast with Knox and Jamie. And maybe like us at the Popcast, you also know people who have been smokers or vapors. And Zyn is the one product it seems like everyone is talking about. Because there are many good reasons to make a change to Zyn nicotine pouches. Reasons like Zyn nicotine pouches are still America's #1 choice for smoke-free, hands-free nicotine satisfaction. And you can choose between 10 varieties, each variety available in either 3 or 6 milligrams. Check out zyn.com/find to find Zyn at a store near you. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
We've all done it. Stock our fridge with good intentions, only to have our future self sacrifice nutrition for convenience. Keep your body and mind nourished with whole body meal shakes from Kachava. It's got 25 grams of protein, 6 grams of fiber, greens, and so much more. But it actually tastes delicious. Try one of Kachava's indulgent flavors today. Your future self will thank you. Go to kachava.com and use code SMOOTHIE for 15% off your next order. That's Kachava, KACHAVA.com, code SMOOTHIE.